She said I was late on rent again, but the way she looked at me, I couldn't tell if she wanted payment, or a reason not to let me go. The story begins in the soft hush of early evening, that in-between hour when the world feels heavy with unspoken things. The narrator, Ethan, 26, stands outside his landlady's door with an envelope that's lighter than it should be. The hallway smells faintly of rain and fresh varnish. A small droplet slides from his hairline to his collar, cool against his skin. He hesitates, fingers tightening around the rent notice he already knows she's seen. He knocks. When Claire, his landlady, opens the door, the warmth of her apartment spills out, golden lamplight, the scent of jasmine tea, faint piano music drifting from somewhere inside. She's in her mid-40s, dressed casually in a cream blouse and dark jeans, her hair tied back loosely. There's a steadiness in her eyes, the kind that comes from years of holding things together. But tonight, there's also fatigue, a quiet kind, the kind that hides behind grace. "You're late on rent again," she says. Her tone isn't harsh, but it cuts through him anyway. Ethan swallows. "I know. I'm trying to catch up. Work's been rough lately." She folds her arms, not out of anger, but to steady herself. "You said that last month." Her voice softens, almost imperceptibly, and that gentleness makes it worse. He's not used to her being kind when she's disappointed. For a moment, neither of them speaks. The only sound is the faint hum of rain outside, tapping against the windowpanes. He finally meets her gaze, and in that instant, something shifts. There's no accusation in her eyes, just quiet concern. That makes his chest tighten. He doesn't want her pity. He wants something else. He exhales and tries to make light of it, his words stumbling out half joking, half confession. "Guess I'll have to work it off somehow, huh?" The air changes. She blinks, startled, not by the words themselves, but by the tone. For a heartbeat, neither of them breathes. Then she gives a faint, uncertain smile, the kind that hides more than it reveals. "Let's not start bartering rent, Ethan," she says, stepping back. "We'll figure it out." He nods, embarrassed, but can't help noticing the way her voice trembled slightly on his name. As he turns to leave, he catches one last look, her hand resting on the doorframe, her eyes lingering just a moment too long before she closes it. The rain outside feels heavier now, though it's not the weather that weighs on him. Something's changed between them, something subtle, dangerous, and quietly alive. And for the first time, he isn't sure whether paying the rent is really what he came here for. The next evening comes with the same drizzle that seems to follow their unspoken tension. Ethan doesn't expect to see her again so soon, but just as he's setting down his tools from a late shift, there's a soft knock on his door, 2 gentle taps, followed by silence. He opens it to find Claire standing there, her expression composed but her posture betraying hesitation. She's holding a folded list in her hand, the kind of practical gesture people use when they're trying to hide nerves behind purpose. "I thought about what you said yesterday," she begins quietly. "About working it off." Her tone is even, but her eyes flicker, unsure whether to meet his or not. Ethan's heart stumbles. He wasn't serious when he said it, not really. But now, standing in the doorway with her so close, the idea feels less like a joke and more like a chance he doesn't know how to refuse. She glances down at the paper. "There's a bit of work that needs doing around here. The garden's overgrown. The spare room needs a fresh coat of paint. If you're willing, we can call it even for now." He nods, grateful but caught in a quiet storm of conflicting feelings, shame for owing her, relief at her kindness, and something deeper he can't quite name. "I can start tomorrow," he says. Claire smiles, small, careful, almost professional. "Good. I'll leave the gate unlocked." Then she turns to go, her perfume trailing faintly behind her, light and floral, lingering longer than she does. The next afternoon, Ethan shows up with his sleeves rolled, the sun painting long shadows across the yard. Claire's already there, pruning roses, her hair tucked behind one ear. She greets him with a nod, her hands deft and graceful. The conversation starts simple: the weather, the stubborn weeds, the cracked fence post. But somewhere between silence and laughter, the air shifts again. At one point, she reaches to hand him a brush. Their fingers touch, brief, almost accidental, but it's enough. The warmth of her skin sends a pulse through his chest, sharp and disarming. She draws back, clearing her throat, pretending not to notice. He pretends too. Hours pass quietly. The garden transforms under their shared effort, and so does something else: the way she glances at him when she thinks he isn't looking, the way his shoulders seem to relax in her presence. As the sun begins to sink, she thanks him with a smile softer than any words she's spoken all day. "That's good for now," she says. But as he packs up his tools, Ethan realizes he's not sure what she's really referring to: the work, or the distance they've both started to quietly erase. A week drifts by in a kind of quiet rhythm neither of them talks about but both fall into naturally. Ethan starts showing up at Claire's house a little before noon, toolbox in hand, a shy smile waiting at the edge of his lips. She always greets him with that same calm nod, but there's something warmer beneath it now, something unspoken. Her home has begun to change too. Where it once felt like a boundary, it now feels like a shared space: the faint smell of coffee and sandalwood, the hum of a radio playing soft jazz in the background. Claire moves around the house with practiced grace, her sleeves rolled just enough to show the faint lines of age that only make her more striking. Ethan finds himself noticing things: the way her voice softens when she thanks him, the way her laughter seems to fill the spaces that used to feel too quiet. One afternoon, the sky darkens unexpectedly. Rain begins to fall, tapping steadily against the windows as thunder murmurs in the distance. Ethan's just finished tightening a loose window latch when Claire walks in with 2 mugs of coffee, steam curling upward between them. "Looks like you're stuck here until it clears up," she says, setting one mug beside him. He laughs softly. "Guess I'll have to work overtime, then." Her lips lift into a faint smile, not teasing this time, but genuine. She sits nearby, folding laundry from a wicker basket, the soft rustle of fabric filling the silence between them. The scent of detergent mingles with rain, clean and comforting. For a while, they just talk, about simple things at first. Music. Books. The way rain makes the world slow down. Then somehow, without meaning to, they wander into deeper territory. She mentions how quiet the house has been since her divorce, how she never realized how much she missed having someone around to talk to. Ethan listens, not just with words, but with the kind of attention that feels like a promise. As she speaks, he notices how the light catches in her eyes, tired, but alive. When she looks up, their gazes meet and hold for a moment longer than it should. The air thickens, warm and charged. A low rumble of thunder breaks the silence. Claire exhales slowly, as if remembering herself. "You should stay for dinner," she says, almost too casually. Ethan nods, a quiet smile forming. And as she turns toward the kitchen, he realizes this doesn't feel like paying off debt anymore, it feels like something he's slowly, carefully earning. It happens on one of those long, drowsy evenings when time seems to move slower than usual. The rain outside has turned into a steady rhythm, whispering against the kitchen window. The soft glow from the pendant light paints the room in gold. Dinner plates sit stacked neatly by the sink, and the faint scent of rosemary and lemon lingers in the air. Ethan and Claire sit across from each other, mugs of tea in hand. There's no reason for him to still be there: the work is done, the conversation long since finished, but neither of them has made a move to leave. It's as if the world outside the kitchen no longer exists. Claire leans back slightly, her eyes on the rim of her cup. "You know," she says, voice quiet but steady, "I didn't expect you to keep helping after you caught up with rent." He shrugs, smiling faintly. "Maybe I like fixing things." Her eyes flicker up to his, a subtle warmth hiding behind her composure. "You're good at it," she says. Even when the things aren't broken. There's a pause, one of those long, heavy silences that feels like a bridge neither of them knows how to cross. The clock ticks softly. Somewhere outside, a car passes, its headlights briefly sweeping across the wall before disappearing. Ethan's gaze lingers on her. There's a softness in the way she holds herself tonight, her hair slightly loose, her voice carrying a trace of tiredness, of vulnerability. He wants to say something, anything, that might make sense of the strange closeness between them. But the words never come. Instead, she reaches across the table to pass him the sugar bowl. Her fingers brush against his wrist, a light, fleeting touch that burns far more than it should. Time seems to hold its breath. Her hand stills for the briefest second before she draws it back, her cheeks faintly flushed. He pretends not to notice. She pretends not to care. But the air between them has changed, thicker, heavier, trembling with what neither dares name. Claire clears her throat softly. "It's late," she says, voice lower now, almost fragile. Ethan stands, his pulse steady but loud in his ears. "Yeah," he murmurs, though he doesn't move right away. When he finally steps toward the door, she follows him with her eyes. For a moment, she looks as if she might say something, but instead, she only whispers, "Good night." The word lingers in the air long after he's gone, and in that silence, both of them know something has shifted that neither can undo. The quiet rhythm they'd built starts to falter when the world around them begins to notice. It happens slowly, a glance from a passing neighbor, a whisper carried across the courtyard, a curtain shifting when Ethan leaves her porch too late in the evening. At first, neither of them says anything. They act as if nothing has changed. But the air feels different, heavier, cautious. Claire greets him more carefully now, her voice clipped, her posture a touch too formal. The easy comfort of before has given way to a delicate dance of restraint. One morning, Ethan arrives early to fix the wooden fence that lines the yard. The sun is soft, the air still cool. Claire is already outside, wearing gardening gloves, a straw hat shadowing her face. She doesn't meet his eyes at first. "You didn't have to come this early," she says, crouched among the rosebushes. He sets down his tools. "Didn't sleep much." She hums faintly, trimming a stem with practiced care. There's distance in her tone, polite, professional. It's worse than silence. When he finally asks if something's wrong, she doesn't answer right away. Instead, she places her shears down slowly, glances toward the apartment building across the street, and says, "People talk, Ethan." He follows her gaze, the old woman who always waters her plants too long, the man who lingers near his mailbox. The kind of people who see everything and understand nothing. Ethan frowns. "Let them." Her eyes flash up at him, sharp but uncertain. "You should care. You have your whole life ahead of you." She stops, her breath catching, as if finishing the sentence might hurt more than leaving it unsaid. He takes a small step closer, his voice quiet but firm. "You're not just anything." For a heartbeat, she looks at him as if she believes him. Then she exhales, standing straighter, forcing calm back into her tone. "It's better if we take some space for a while," she says. "You've helped more than enough." Her words land like cold water. He nods, trying to keep his expression steady, but the ache behind his chest betrays him. As he gathers his tools, a breeze sweeps through the yard, scattering a few rose petals across the grass. Claire bends to pick one up but stops halfway, fingers trembling slightly. That evening, his phone buzzes with a short message, "You don't have to come by tomorrow." Ethan stares at the screen for a long time, the glow reflecting in his eyes. Outside, the wind carries the faint scent of roses, something beautiful, already slipping away. Days pass in silence, the kind that doesn't just fill the air but settles into the bones. Ethan wakes early, goes to work, comes home, and finds himself staring at the faint glow of Claire's apartment across the courtyard. The light in her living room still comes on at the same time every night, but now it feels like a closed door he can't knock on anymore. He tries to convince himself it's for the best. She was right, people had started to talk, and maybe what he felt was foolish. But the quiet that follows feels less like peace and more like punishment. Inside her home, Claire moves through her days with the same composure she's always had. But everything feels different. The house that once felt alive now feels too still. She catches herself setting 2 mugs out instead of 1. The silence after dinner feels heavier. Sometimes, she almost reaches for her phone, thumb hovering over his name, but she doesn't press it. One evening, the rain returns, the same soft drizzle that had always brought them together. Ethan sits by his window, listening to the rhythm of it, remembering the scent of her jasmine tea, the sound of her quiet laughter, the way she'd look at him when she forgot to be careful. Across the courtyard, Claire stands by her own window, watching the same rain. The light touches her face, soft and lonely. For the first time in years, she feels the sting of missing someone she knows she shouldn't. The next morning, her kitchen sink springs a leak, a small, steady drip that refuses to stop. She kneels to fix it, but her hands tremble, and before she realizes it, she's laughing at herself, a tired, helpless laugh. She reaches for her phone almost instinctively this time. When Ethan sees her name flash across his screen, his heart stops. He hesitates before answering, his voice low and careful. "Hey." "Hi," she says. There's a pause. "My sink's leaking again." He smiles faintly. "I'll be there in the morning." She exhales, quiet relief carried through static. "Thank you." The call ends, but the sound of her voice lingers. That night, neither of them sleeps well. She sits on her couch, tracing the rim of her cup, and he lies awake, staring at the ceiling. Both know the leak isn't what she called about. It's just the only excuse she could live with. And tomorrow, when he walks up her steps again, they'll both be standing at the edge of something they can no longer pretend isn't real. The next morning breaks with pale sunlight and a fragile kind of calm, the kind that comes before something honest finally happens. Ethan takes his time walking up the path to Claire's porch, toolbox in hand, heart unsteady but sure. The roses she planted weeks ago are in full bloom now, their petals still damp from last night's rain. He can smell them even before he reaches her door. He raises his hand to knock, but the door opens first. Claire stands there, her hair slightly tousled, eyes tired but kind. For a moment, they simply look at each other, no landlord, no tenant, no polite barrier to hide behind. Just 2 people who've spent too long pretending. "You came," she says softly. "You called," he replies. It's such a simple exchange, yet it feels like a confession. Inside, the house looks the same, but the air feels changed, warmer, quieter, full of everything they never said. She leads him to the kitchen, where the leaky pipe sits forgotten beneath the sink. He crouches to look at it, but neither of them cares about the repair. The silence stretches until it almost hurts. Finally, he sits back on his heels and looks up at her. "Claire, you don't have to keep finding excuses," he says, voice low but steady. Her breath catches. "Excuses?" He nods, standing slowly. "For calling me. For letting me stay. For pretending this doesn't mean something." For a long moment, she says nothing. Her hand rests lightly against the counter, knuckles pale, eyes glistening. Then, almost in a whisper, "It scares me, Ethan. You scare me." He steps closer, careful, deliberate, not enough to corner her, but enough that she can feel his presence, his warmth. "Why?" "Because you make me forget the rules," she says. "You make me want to start over when I thought I'd already had my chance." The words break something in both of them, not like glass, but like ice giving way to water. He lifts a hand slowly, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. She doesn't move away. Instead, she closes her eyes for a moment, as if memorizing the feeling. When she looks up again, her voice is soft but sure. Then maybe we stop pretending. He smiles, not with triumph, but with relief. Then I guess I'm all paid up. Claire laughs quietly through her tears, the sound trembling but real. She reaches up, fingers tracing the edge of his jaw before resting on his cheek. Stay, she whispers. And in that quiet kitchen, with sunlight warming the floor and the roses swaying outside, he finally does. Sometimes love doesn't arrive when it's convenient, it arrives when two hearts are finally brave enough to stop pretending. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who still believes in slow, unexpected love. Every story here reminds us, it's never too late to fall for the right person.